The latest After Effects update is much more than just another dot. Version 26.3 brings depth of field to the advanced 3D renderer, copy and paste from Illustrator, an updated mask tracker, a new curl noise effect, a quicker way to find variable fonts, and one little button I'm pretty sure you'll press all the time. Or will you? As always, I'm not just going to show you what's new. I'll also explain how to use these new features wisely, point out the limitations and workarounds, and sprinkle in a little perspective from more than 30 years of using After Effects. Ready or not, here I come. Let's start with a feature that spent roughly 6 months in beta and has now graduated into the official release. Depth of field in the advanced 3D renderer, which works much like it does in classic 3D, but it also includes a few extra options that gives you more control and more cinematic result. I've created this Lego style brick using the built-in 3D meshes, and now I can enable depth of field directly from the properties panel and adjust the focus distance and aperture. I also have controls for the focus area width and the near and far blur levels, which make it much easier to dial in the exact shallow depth of field look that I want. A useful starting point when art directing a scene like this is to select both the camera and the layer you want to keep in focus, then go to the layer menu and choose Camera, set focus distance to layer. After that, you can adjust the aperture to control the amount of blur, then fine-tune the additional values underneath it. For best performance while you're working, open up the Renderer Options menu and reduce the quality all the way down to 1. This previews almost in real time and is usually good enough while you are designing the shot. As always, you can animate any of these values. Once you're happy with the result, return to the renderer options and set the quality to 15, which, as Adobe politely explains here, is recommended for most scenes. So here's what I created after duplicating the logo brick 3 times and animating the camera around with a subtle but expensive looking macro move. We can finally copy and paste vectors from Illustrator and other supported applications directly into After Effects as native shape layers. As a veteran Illustrator and After Effects user, I was very happy to see that Adobe finally make this possible. However, if you're currently using Overlord or PathLink, don't uninstall them yet. Let me show you why. First, let's open up Illustrator and go to the settings, and then under clipboard handling, make sure that include SVG code is enabled. Next, check the size of your main artboard, then go back to After Effects and create a composition using the same dimensions. Now, return to Illustrator, select everything, and then copy the artwork to the clipboard. Switch back to After Effects and go to Edit and choose Paste. Except we can't. The paste command is dimmed. Why? In this case, it's because the artwork contains a live text layer and SVG text is not currently supported. Fair enough. I'll return to Illustrator, convert the text here to outlines, and then select all the layers by clicking on the target button in the layers panel. Then I'll copy everything again, return to After Effects, and still I can't paste. What's going on, Adobe? Well, apparently there is a very specific dance you need to perform. So, back in Illustrator, I'll deselect everything. Then I'll drag a marquee around the artwork that I want to transfer, so all the layers here, and now I'll copy them again. And now, back inside After Effects, I can finally paste it. As you can see, everything arrives inside a single shape layer called Paste SVG1, with several groups already twirled open to reveal their properties. From this point, I can, of course, start animating, but honestly, it's a bit of a mess. I suppose this is quite useful for a simple artwork where you don't need separate layers, shape names, blending modes, accurate composition alignment, or live text. For anything more complex, it feels like we are being punished for trying to be efficient. So personally, I'd rather import the Illustrator artwork as a composition, then keep all the original layers intact, and only then create shapes from layers manually to the specific elements that I want to animate. Working like that also allows me to apply shape operators only where I need them. Still, this is definitely a step in the right direction, and once live text is going to be supported, I can see myself using this workflow more often, provided I remember to copy and paste the artwork one layer at a time. For reasons known only to the YouTube algorithm, my most popular tutorial is using the After Effects Mask Tracker. It's not one of my best tutorials, but apparently the algorithm knows better than I do. So let's quickly revisit the mask tracker and look at what has been improved. In this case, I want to remove the person from the shot. So I'll switch to the pen tool and draw a mask around him. Then I'll press M to reveal the mask path in the timeline, and here we can see the updated tracking controls. Clicking on the range icon reveals all the available tracking options. I'll leave this one to the default option, which is position, scale, and rotation, and then I'll track forwards. The tracking seems faster, at least to me, and it also opens the tracker panel automatically if it wasn't already visible. Once the tracking is complete, I can invert the mask or change its mode to subtract, add some feathering, and then I can use the good old content-aware fill panel to generate the missing details instead of this person. While it performs its traditional two-step analysis and rendering, I'll use the time to contact Adobe and politely beg them to update this technology, perhaps add a little AI and bring it into the modern times. Anyway, here is the final result. I think it's not too bad, and the mask tracking part was definitely easier to set up. If you want a noise effect that resembles smoke, flowing water, swirling ink, or something that you might stare at for far too long, you can now do it with the curl noise effect. It generates smooth animated 2D noise with a fluid organic quality. According to Adobe, curl noise differs from other noise effects because the noise field is curled and the vectors defining the noise are rotated, so they always flow tangentially, which gives this effect its characteristic fluid motion. Oh my god, that was a mouthful and very scientific explanation. The non-scientific explanation is that it makes lovely swirly things. So I experimented with it and discovered that you can create these hypnotic type effects by using a pre-composed text layer as the source and then combining the result with the CC vector blur effect, and of course just a bit of colorization to make it look like this. For a much deeper dive, check out Jake in Motion's video from when this effect was first introduced in the beta. I'll leave a link to his video down below. The final two additions are smaller quality of life improvements. The first is the new button here, which appears while you are browsing fonts and allows you to filter variable fonts by axis. This makes it much easier to find the font that supports the specific properties that your design need. In this example, I'll use the Orangetto variable, which you can sync through Adobe Fonts. Then I can use this similar control button here in the properties panel to adjust the width and the height axis. If I want, I can also add text animators directly from here, as well as, of course, animate their values over time. By combining this technique with a few additional titles animated in the same way, we can quickly build this kinematic typography sequence and get an out-of-jail card much faster. And I've saved the best for last. There is now a new button next to the Show Snapshot button in the composition viewer. Clicking it captures the currently rendered frame from the composition, footage, or layer panel and copies it directly to your system clipboard as a still image. All of that with a single click. So if I'll click here and then switch to Photoshop, for example, and then choose to create a new document based on the clipboard dimensions, I can now paste the current frame directly from After Effects, which appears immediately inside the document. Back inside After Effects, you can also use the default keyboard shortcut Ctrl-Alt-Shift and F5 on Windows or Command-Option-Shift and F5 on macOS, because clearly they ran out of easy keyboard shortcuts sometimes around 2007. A better solution, to my opinion, is to open the Keyboard Shortcuts editor and type the word clip into the search field, and this should isolate the new command, allowing you to assign something a little easier to remember, such as Option C on macOS or Alt C on Windows, which looks like it's available. And that's it for now. 6 new additions, some bigger than others, but all in all, this is a solid After Effects update that should improve both your renders and your everyday workflow. Let me know which new feature is your favorite and why you continue to love, hate, or maintain a complicated long-term relationship with After Effects. Until next time, I'm Eran. Thank you so much for watching.